We just stepped on their face with a hobnail boot and broke their nose. We just crushed their face.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Glory UGA podcast brought to you by our good friends at MyBookie. All you got to do, guys, go to mybookie.ag right now. Use our code UGA when you sign up for a new account, and that first bet is still going to be covered all the way up to $500. So jump on this deal, guys, while it lasts. It won't last forever. But today on the show, I've got some mid-ish season awards to hand out for this 2025 Georgia football team, including the offensive and defensive MVPs of the team through the first half of the season. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that, guys. But first, if you are a diehard George fan and you haven't already, go ahead, subscribe right now, hit those notifications. If you're new to the show, guys, you found the right place. This channel is 100% designed for all you Georgia diehards by a Georgia guy himself. So subscribe, like, comment. Love to hear from you guys. All right. Let's get to it, guys. No game to recap this week coming out of the bye week, but it's still college football season. And like you guys, I live for this time of year. I love this stuff. I eat this stuff up, and we only get it for a finite amount of time. It doesn't last forever. We wait seemingly all year for it to get here, and then boom, it's gone in the blink of an eye. So I personally am not one for wasting a single week, a single moment of the college football season. So in thinking of what to do here on the show today, since we don't have a game to recap, I had this idea to do a mid-ish season award show. Look, guys, I know it's not exactly mid-season. We have played 7 games. We now had our 2 bye weeks. We're in the last 5 weeks of the regular season, so I know it's not exactly mid-season, but it's close enough. That's what we're going to call it, the mid-ish season award show. So I'm going to be handing out a bunch of awards today, guys. I got Impact Freshman, Biggest Surprise, Most Improved, MVPs, and a lot more. We're going to do both sides of football, too. Offense and defense for each one of these awards. So with that, guys, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and just jump right in. Off the top here, the first award that I will be handing out right now here today is Impact Freshman. Got one for offense and defense. Offensively, there are a couple of ways this could have gone. I thought there were a couple of candidates. So I do have an honorable mention here. But for me, the impact freshman for this Georgia football team on the offensive side of the football through the first half-ish of the season is right guard Dontrell Glover. 6'3", 320 pounds, out of Langston Hughes High School here in the state of Georgia. A 4-star guy, but not like a super highly rated 4-star guy. I mean, 4 stars are still 4 stars, so one of the more talented guys in the country. Look at the entire country in totality. But like in the 300s, according to On3 industry rankings. I guess it's now what the Rivals industry rankings now that they've merged. But Dontrell Glover, guys, I'm gonna be real with you guys. I had no expectations that this guy was going to contribute in any sort of meaningful way this season. Like, he wasn't even on my radar. And as someone who covers Georgia year-round, all Georgia sports, went to a couple of spring practices back during the coaches clinic, went to G-Day, guys, he was getting reps like with the third team, at times the second team, but not a ton of reps with the second team when I saw him in the early spring. But something clicked from the summer through fall camp, and this guy slowly but surely moved his way up to the depth chart. Now, even at the beginning of the season, he wasn't one of the first options off the bench. You know, we got banged up from like week 1 on the offensive line with Ernest Green going down, then Juan Gaston, freshman, who was making waves and did open the season as a starter at right guard. He goes down with injury. Then we tried Michael Uini. That didn't really work. John Jackson got some opportunities. That didn't work so well. He also got banged up there. And then with those guys not performing the way that we needed them to, and that combined with all the injuries that we were dealing with at that position, Glover got his chance, man. And from the first time I saw him out there, and it wasn't perfect, but when you first saw him out there early in the year against Austin Peay, it's like, all right, this guy was pretty good. Now, it's Austin Peay. It's like, what do we make of this? But all I know is the second half of that game. The first half, we had a lot of trouble protecting Gunner. And people were all over Gunner for that. And like, there were some, obviously, Gunner did not have his best game. There were some times he should have turned the ball loose and he did not, left the pocket too early. All that's true. But there were a number of times where Gunner wanted to turn the ball loose, but he could not because the offensive line would not protect long enough in order to give routes time to develop down the field. And then we insert Glover in the second half at right guard, and he's a big part of the solution of why that all of a sudden got cleaned up in that second half. And then he starts the game against Tennessee, and it's kind of been like no looking back since that point. The guy has been flat out awesome for us, guys. In the last 2 weeks, he's played 100% of our snaps. on the road at Auburn and against Ole Miss at home. He would have played 100% of the snaps against Kentucky, but we put the backups in, right? Like we didn't play the starters the entire game, but he played as many snaps as our starters played. Like 79% of our snaps, as soon as we took our starters out, he goes out. But that guy was playing all the meaningful snaps of that football game. He has been the most impactful freshman on the Georgia offense this season, I think pretty clearly. Now, the honorable mention here is a guy I did talk about there for a second, Juan Gaston. He did open the season as a starter at right guard, and then he gets banged up, and then through a bunch of injuries on the screen, his injury took a little time. Gaston slides out to tackle, which I think long term is probably what he's going to fit at down the road. But he has been an impact guy. When he's been in the lineup, he's been very, very good for us. There's a reason why he started week one as a true freshman. Now, he's spent some time on the bench, banged up and injured. That's why Glover got the nod here as the impact freshman for the offensive side of the football. But Gaston, when he's been there, has been a stud, and he is going to be a big time player for Georgia for hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, years to come. All right, defense side of the football, I think it's as obvious. Like this is a runaway impact freshman on defense has been Elijah Griffin, 5-star, number one defensive tackle in the country. This was kind of to be expected. Going back to when I was at practice early in the spring during the coaches clinic, this guy at that point, we're talking like the first week-ish of spring practice, was already doing big things. It was obvious from that point this guy is going to play and play a lot for Georgia. How much was up for debate, but I felt like he'd probably be a real part of our rotation. And as time goes on through the course of spring, you see him at G-Day, you hear a lot of talk come out of fall camp, and he just seems to get better and better and better, getting more entrenched in that rotation. And sure enough, he has been an impact guy from the jump for Georgia at that interior defensive tackle position. He is playing more than any defensive tackle on this team, not named Christian Miller, the last several weeks of the season. He's continued to improve, and he's already a type of guy that can give you some interior pass rush. It's all about consistency with him. Like he's got the strength of the point of attack. He's got the athleticism to give you some pass rush, some push from the interior. It's just about consistency. And game by game, he's becoming more and more and more consistent. By the time we get to the end of the season, guys, he might be ready to be a monster. Like he's knocking on the door of that right now. And you give him another year, we get to 2026, watch out. That's all I'm going to say. But right now, for a true freshman, playing in the trenches, guys, let's be real. You're going against grown men. That's why I'm always hesitant when I'm trying to project forward into a season, like what true freshman will make an impact in year one. I'm always very, very hesitant to throw in offensive or defensive linemen because you're playing against grown men on the other side of the football in the trenches, and it's just hard. I've been a believer for a long time. The closer you are to the football, it's harder to make an impact as a true freshman. But Elijah Griffin, kind of one of those exceptions, guys, because he is just that kind of guy. So he's been a stud for us from day one. I expect big things from him the rest of this season and, of course, moving through the rest of his career. All right, moving along here, guys. Next award. Let's go biggest surprise. Offense. I kind of gave it away with what I talked about earlier with the impact freshman. He's just cleaning up today, guys. Dontrell Glover gets my biggest surprise award for the offense. Again, guys, I had zero expectations that Dontrell Glover would be not part of the team, of course, part of the team, but a meaningful contributor for this Georgia football team in 2025. I did like him coming out of high school, but again, you're talking about true freshman. I do not really ever have expectations of guys in the trenches making an impact. Certainly a guy that, 4-star, but like in the 300s, 350 range, depending on what recruiting service you're looking at. He didn't really have the profile of a guy coming out of high school that you would think would jump in and make that kind of impact right away year one. But again, from like essentially the first time he was inserted into the lineup in a meaningful spot, the guy has delivered, and he has just gotten better and better and better as time has gone on, guys. And guys, he's playing at a really high level for us at right guard right now. Like, think about it. Juan Gaston, right, who started the season for us at right guard. Well, now that Ernest Green has come back, he's starting at right tackle again as of the Ole Miss game. Well, we didn't plug Juan Gaston right back into the starting role at right guard. We kept Dontrell Glover in there. Why? Because the dude is playing lights out. And you can't take him out of that spot right now. And Gaston's extraordinarily talented. And yes, there's going to be a rotation. Gaston's going to rotate at guard. He's going to rotate at tackle some. But when Gaston rotated at guard against Ole Miss, what guard position was that? Left guard, Micah Morse. And it's not that Morse isn't playing well. Morse is playing really well for us, but he's also banged up right now. We did not move Glover out of that lineup against Ole Miss, guys. 100% of the snaps. And if you would have asked me back like August 1st, like what are the chances Dontrell Glover plays 100% of the snaps in a top 5 game, a game against a top 5 opponent in Ole Miss? I would have said like 0% chance, and I would have been wrong because this guy, man, he got his chance. Let's give the guy credit, man. You love to see this. Got his chance and seized the moment, and we are better off for it. So love what I'm seeing out of Dontrell Glover. Defense, biggest surprise for me. Now, guys, this was one I had a harder time coming up with a guy to get this award because most of the players that we're seeing playing a high volume of snaps for Georgia and playing a high level, these are guys I expected to see do that. Guys like C.J. Allen and Raylan Wilson and Chris Cole to a degree, and K.J. Bolden and Janelle Aguero and Dalen Everett. There haven't really been a ton of like overwhelming surprises, but the guy I'm going to go with here made one of the most impactful plays of the game to seal the game against Ole Miss a couple of weeks ago, and that is defensive tackle Josh Horton, transfer from Miami. This is a guy, like I saw him this spring, and like, yeah, he was getting some reps and he looked solid, but it's like, okay, well, like where does he fit in, right? You got Christian Miller, you got Jordan Hall coming back from injury, you've got Xavier McLeod, who I still am very high on. I still like Xavier McLeod a lot. You got Elijah Griffin played at a high level, so you got 4 guys right there. You're only going to be playing two interior guys at a time. I guess depending on the front. At times, in certain situations, down in distances, it might only be one of those guys. So where does he fit in? Like right now, I think he might coming into the season. I was like, maybe our 5th guy. Maybe he's even behind Nnamdi Igboka. I don't know. But as the season has progressed, Josh Horton has made himself more and more of a mainstay in that defensive tackle rotation. No, not a starter, not a guy that's playing the first or second most snaps. Christian Miller's playing the most snaps, and on average, it's been Jordan Hall in the second most. And recently, it's been Elijah Griffin. Jordan Hall is still playing a lot. McLeod's playing a fair amount. But what we're seeing from Horton right now is he's playing roughly the same amount of snaps as Xavier McLeod is. And I would not have thought that would have been the case coming into the season. So that does surprise me. I thought he might be a guy that gave us depth. So if somebody gets injured, somebody goes out, like he's a nice guy to have as a depth piece you can put in there. He's played some of the power 4. And I don't want to say you don't miss a beat, but like you can function effectively there. But he has worked himself into a real part of this defensive tackle rotation. He's now becoming more of an impact guy. And I know it's just like you get your hands up and you bat the ball down. Guys, that's a big play to seal that game against Ole Miss. That's a high-powered Ole Miss offense. We know that, right? I mean, Oklahoma was giving them about 213 yards a game coming into the game against Ole Miss last week. Ole Miss put like 440 on them. Right? 34 points. That's a really good offense. You can never rest when that offense is on the field, and him batting that ball down saves the game, sealed the deal, right? So I think Josh Horton, he wasn't a big impact guy right away, but he's becoming more and more of that type of guy as the season has gone along, and I'm very excited to see what he's going to be able to give us as we get through the last several weeks of this 2025 season. All right, next up here, we've got most improved. Offensively, this was pretty obvious to me. I'm going to give my most improved award offensively to running back Chauncey Bowens, who currently leads the team in rushing yards, in yards per rush, and rushing from the running back position leads us in rushing touchdowns. Gunner has 7, so he leads the team in rushing touchdowns. But Chauncey's 4 is the most among any of our running backs. 376 yards rushing, 5.4 yards per rush, 4 touchdowns. Not like blow you away numbers. He's splitting time back there with primarily our guy Nate, and of course Josh McCray's now getting some more reps. But it's been a really nice 1-2 punch at the top with Nate Frazier and Chauncey Bowens. And when Nate foamed the ball against Alabama, Chauncey stepped up big and was a big part of why we were able to kind of mount that comeback and almost sort of maybe try to win the game. But again, just like last year, fall ever so tantalizingly short, heartbreakingly short there. But Chauncey's been really good for us, guys. And I got to call myself out here. He was not a guy, when I was at spring practice, I mean, Chauncey looked fine, but he didn't like really particularly catch my eye. Like he didn't like maybe go, wow. The guy that made me go, wow, outside of Nate Frazier looked awesome. Like, he was clearly the guy at that point. And I said it all back through the offseason, was Bo Walker, true freshman Bo Walker. I thought he looked freaking awesome, man. Like, yeah, I heard some hype about him, but saw him on the field. I was like, okay, like, no, it's real. You see him at G-Day. Okay, it's real. Continue to hear really good things about him during fall camp. But Chauncey's the guy, when the lights turn on in the big moments, G-Day, right? The fall scrimmages, he had the biggest days from a running back position. Like, he was the guy. So something to be said about that. When the lights come on, when you need the guy to play at a high level, he delivers, man. And he has been that guy for us this season. So I'm going to call myself out. I was not hyping him enough coming into the year because I was basing on what I had seen. right, at practice. Now, in like you get a G-Day settings, okay, well, G-Day, like how much stock should I put in that? I don't know. So you always, every year you see guys have big G-Day performances and then they don't end up ever doing all that much for us. So I wasn't sure. And going back to his freshman year, yeah, Chauncey got a little bit of run late in the year, but I didn't see the burst that I have seen from him this year. Like this year, guys, he's moving differently. Like he's still not a super top end speed guy, but he has this acceleration, this burst that I did not see from him last year. And what impresses me the most with Chauncey and excites me the most about him. Like, yes, he runs with power. Love that. He get behind his shoulder pass, but he sees it so well. Nate Frazier's come a long way. He's really improving his patience. He's improving his vision out there from the running back position. But Chauncey has seemed like has a more natural feel for that. Seeing the cutback lane, finding the gap in the defense, and just hitting it, right? Accelerating through, running through power, breaking through arm tackles. So I love what I've seen from Chauncey Boyd. He has been our best running back. If you want to look at the first 7 games of the season, all in all, in totality, he has been our best running back. Nate's really come along lately and been a much bigger part of the offense, coming back after that fumble against Alabama, which you love to see, guys. Like, Nate's a good dude, man, and he works hard. He's a really talented football player. He has more physical tools than Chauncey does. Like, he has a little extra gear that I don't think Chauncey has. But Chauncey's been a guy that's delivered consistently, more consistently throughout this season. So love what I see from Chauncey there. Excited he's a part of our football team. And I was wrong, man. I did not have as high of expectations from him this year as I probably should have. Probably a little too high on Bo Walker coming this season, but Chauncey has been huge. And you know what? That's great, man. Let me be wrong. I don't care. I just want Georgia to win football games, and Chauncey's been a big part of that so far this season. All right, defense. There are a couple of guys I thought about here. I'm going to go with linebacker Raylan Wilson. Now, Raylan, if you go back to when he came out of high school, he once upon a time was coming to Michigan, was a big-time 5-star guy. We were able to flip him. I was very excited about that because I loved what I saw on tape from Raylan Wilson coming out of high school. I was like, this guy is going to be a freaking star. And he was in line to play as early as C.J. Allen did as a true freshman, but Raylan got banged up in fall camp, missed the first couple weeks of the season. That kind of set him back a little bit. C.J. was able to get on the field and kind of entrench himself a little bit there. But when Raylan got back as a true freshman, he did get more time as the season progressed. And he's just so physically gifted, guys. As a pure athlete, he's an incredibly talented, athletic, fast inside linebacker. The issue for Raylan through the first 2 years of his career was the little things. It's like how to play the position, particularly eye discipline. He was like, for a team that's had a lot of issues with eye discipline in recent years, he was one of the biggest violators. Like, he was one of the guys that would get fooled quite a bit, especially when there's teams that play heavy misdirection. But if Raylan knows what to do, like if he sees the ball and he reads his keys correctly, I I don't know if there's a better linebacker on the team right now when he sees it, right? Now, is he as consistent as a guy like CJ Allen? No. That's why CJ Allen is the better linebacker right now. But like long term, athletically, I still think Raylan might have more physical tools long term than CJ does. And CJ is freaking awesome. That's not me trying to slight CJ. Love CJ. We'll get to him here in a minute. Might be an award with his name on it. But Raylan has really taken his game to another level this year. He's playing more consistently. His eyes have been improved. He understands the system more because he's more comfortable out there. And when Raylan knows what to do, and he can just read and react and just fly and play fast, he's awesome, man. And we've seen that from Raylan this year. I think the first few years he's maybe thinking a little too much, which is not abnormal for a young linebacker. So really excited what I've seen from him. I think he's taken a big jump this year for that Georgia defense. All right, next one. I'm going to call this the Glue Guy Award. Now, I know this is an award that's more traditionally, or it's a term that's more traditionally applied to basketball players, particularly college basketball, but I'm going to co-opt that here. I'm going to apply it to college football. And what I mean by a glue guy is a dude that might not be the most talented player on the team, maybe, could be, but is a guy that just make sure everything fits. And he's a guy that we lean on, that we rely on. One of the more reliable players on the team, is playing through injuries maybe, is in there thick and thin, and is just getting the job done for Georgia on a consistent basis. So offensively, my glue guy for the Georgia offense through the first half-ish of the season is center Drew Bobo. Guys, Drew Bobo is playing at an extremely high level for Georgia in the middle of that offensive line. He gets my glue guy award for this Georgia offense because think about all the injuries that we have had so far this season. Guys, it's been like a 3-year thing now. Like, we just cannot, for whatever reason, stay healthy in the offensive line. Whether it's tackle, guards, other tackle position, left guards playing like half a shoulder. It's been rough, man. But throughout all of that turmoil on the offensive line, throughout all the movement, guys coming in and out of the lineup, there's been one constant in the middle of that offensive line. And that constant has been Drew Bobo. And I know people, like, I know how a lot of fans in the fan base feel about his father, right? Do not want to go down that rabbit hole. I just, we're not doing that right now. So I know how people feel about him, about his dad. And a lot of times that early in his career was just applied to him. Like it was like, oh, he's just a nepo baby. Like if his dad wasn't offensive coordinator, he wouldn't be on this team. In the first couple years, like he wasn't playing, right? And Bobo, guys, go back to high school. I know there were a lot of like eye rolls when we signed him. He wasn't ready to play right away. And that's what I said about this guy when he came out of high school. I was like, I don't know what he's going to be long term. He's not ready right now, but he's a coach's son, and he's playing for the University of Georgia that he grew up loving. So I can tell you one thing, that we are going to get the best from this kid day in and day out. And it's not going to be the first year, not going to be the second year, probably only be the third year. But by the time you get to year 4, year 5, your red shirts, you're going to have yourself a football player. A guy that's just going to be a gritty, hard-nosed football player that you can count on that'll get the job done for Georgia. And that is what he has turned into. It took some time, guys. I thought last year was actually pretty good when he got chances to play center. Now he had to play guard like against Ole Miss when everybody in the offensive line died. Yeah, that wasn't a great look. He had a rough day like everybody else on the offensive line that game. But when he got to play center, which is really the position he is equipped to play, he's not the biggest guy in the world. He was pretty good last year, and he has taken that to another level this year, guys. He's been consistent. Not only been consistent, he has been consistent. He's been in the lineup every game. He's out there calling protections and helping Gunner with that. A new quarterback who's been around the system for a long time, but starting for the first time. But he's actually physically playing at a high level. He's getting consistent movement on guys that are bigger than him, right? He's doing a good job of working up the second level. He's not blowing assignments. He's playing at an extremely high level for Georgia. So he is my glue guy award for an offensive line that has just been decimated by injuries for 3 years running now, but including this year as well. Defensively, I'm going to go with a guy that I love. I've been hyping him up for years now. I think he's now worked himself into a top 2-round pick in the NFL draft. First round's probably a little bit of a stretch right now, but who knows? Let's see how the end of the season plays out. Maybe he can work himself into like the back end of the first round. But defensive tackle Christian Miller, guys, has been awesome for Georgia for a couple of years now, right? I love him coming out of high school, out of Cedar Grove. He redshirted as a freshman. As a redshirt freshman, he had to play, I thought, out of position, playing more of that zero tech. He's playing more zero tech this year than I honestly thought he would. But he plays with really good leverage, and he's not the biggest guy. He's like 310, 315, but he's really strong at the point of attack. He anchors really well, and he has elite first step quickness. Like, he has the ability to penetrate into an opponent's backfield almost at will. He is our most disruptive interior defensive tackle. He's also been the defensive tackle that I think has been the most consistently strong at the point of attack. He has been awesome for us. And look, we have a number of guys that are playing well for us on the interior of that defensive line. I think Elijah Griffin's doing a good job. Jordan Hall is having a nice bounce back here. I wouldn't say he's been playing at an elite level, not the 5-star level I was hoping he would. He's doing some good things for Georgia. I still think Xavier McLeod's giving us some good reps. He gets in there. Josh Horton started to come on late more and more as the season progressed. But the guy that holds that all together is Christian Miller, guys. He plays roughly, depending on the game, about 50 to 60% of our defensive snaps. That's by far the most of any of our interior defensive line. Like, Elijah Griffin's been the second most recently, and he's playing like 30-ish% of our defensive snaps. We lean on Christian Miller. Yes, there's some talented guys around him, but make no mistake about it, guys. He is the dude. He is holding it together for us on the interior of the defensive line. He's a guy that can give you some pass rush. He's also a guy that can anchor and really control the center at times, which for a guy his size, you wouldn't expect him to be able to, but he has that ability, and I think he has been awesome for us this year. He's a big part of why we have been so consistently good stopping the run. It's not just him, but he has been a big part of that in the middle of our defense. I go Christian Miller there as my defensive glue guy. All right, now next up, we got 2 more here. This one, I didn't know what to call it. All right, you try to be creative, but there's only so much going on up there at times, right? I don't even know if this is an award, but we're going to call it that, all right? So this one's looking ahead to the second half of the season. And I did an episode earlier in the week, which if you haven't checked out, check it out, identifying 5 players I thought could potentially be in line for breakout second halves of the season for Georgia. But this award is more aligned with who does Georgia need to have a big second half. So we're going to call this We need you the most award. That's what we're going to call this, right? So these are the guys that we need to step up and become impact players for Georgia in the second half of the season if we are going to get where we want to go this season. So offensively, this is obvious to me. In the aftermath of the injury to Colby Young, I got to go wide receiver Noah Thomas. We have some other options that can play X Force. Dylan Bell played that last year. I don't think he's a true X receiver. I don't think that's what fits him best. He's more suited for a Z or the slot, but he's not going to play the slot with Zachariah Branch there. But he can function there, right? CJ Wiley, very talented, uber talented true freshman, is a true X receiver body, but he's a true freshman. Now, do I have some hope that maybe he can give us a little bit more coming out of this bye week? Sure, I'm hopeful, but I don't know that's up in the air. Like, we'll see. But the guy that is going to get the opportunities first and foremost as that guy to replace Colby Young's production at the X receiver spot is clearly 100% Noah Thomas, transfer from Texas A&M. Right now, guys, 4 catches for 54 yards. We need a lot more than that from him the rest of the way. And he's going to have more opportunities. That's the thing, guys. Like, he didn't have a ton of opportunities earlier in the year because he's new to the team, right? Still trying to figure out our offense. And you got Colby Young, who is playing at a really high level. It's very unfortunate that Colby went down with an injury for him. I hate it for him. And it's unfortunate for us as a team because he's doing really good things for us. But Noah's got to step up. It's his time. And I believe that Noah can get the job done. He's a little bit of a different type of receiver than Colby. They're both big. They're both tall, long, athletic. They both have the ability to go up and win those contested catch balls. And I think Noah at 6'6", he's longer than Colby, can be even more proficient doing that for us than Colby was. But he's not going to be as physical like in the screen game as Colby was. Like, Colby, guys, don't involve out there on a now route, quick game, screen game. Dude was just putting his head down and just plowing through defenders, man. Like, that's just like willing himself through defenders. I don't know if that's as much Noah Thomas's game, but he is an athletic guy, tall, long, athletic, has good speed, and I think he is going to be a big part of what we're going to do offensively in the second half. We need him to be. If not, like if he is not that guy for us, our offense, I don't want to say it's in trouble because we run the ball well. Zachariah Branch does some good things for us. We have some good receivers at the Z spot, and Lennon Humphreys and Dylan Bell. But we need a guy that makes defenses feel it, right? Like, we need a guy that defenses have to account for, that defenses have to game plan for. Colby Young was that guy for us. Like, you had to account for him in the game plan because he could hurt you if you do not. Noah Thomas, I think, has that ability, but we need to see it, right? So we just need Noah to step up in a huge way. So definitely the offensive player that we need the most in the second half of the season. Defensively, I have been talking about it ad nauseum all season long, guys. Going back to week 1, I tried to say, you know what, like, you play against Marshall, get the ball in their hands really quickly. You can't really tell that much about the pass rush, right? Same thing with Austin Peay. Then you get to Tennessee, had no ability to get to the passer at all, at least in the first half of that football game. It's like, oh man, that might be a problem. The bye week, Alabama. I mean, guys, we would consistently stop the run, consistently get Bama in third and long, which is traditionally where Georgia wants to get teams. We want to stop the run on early downs, get you in third and long, we bring our dime package on the field, get exotic, bring pressure packages, and we get after you. We have not had the ability to do that really all year long, and it was clearly obvious. It was just disgustingly obvious against Alabama, right? I think that's the biggest reason why we lost the game. There's a number of reasons why, yes, individual plays, but from an X and O standpoint, our inability to take advantage of what I still think are some pretty weak tackles for Bama, when we got them in third and long, that was a problem for us. That was eye-opening for me. It's like, okay, we got no more excuses. We just don't have the guys right now. And it really hasn't gotten much better the rest of the first half of the season. A little bit better in recent weeks, but still not enough. If we are going to win a championship of any sort this year, guys, we have got to find a way to pressure the passer more consistently. We've got to get some more legit pass rush. And Elo Madozi was the guy that we brought in from Army to be that guy. Like, he was our big transfer portal pickup in the spring window to be that guy. David Bailey coming over from Stanford, Texas Tech. My God, 10.5 sacks through the first 6 games of the year. I guess there's 7 games of the year. Madozi, right now, guys, 9 tackles, a half tackle for a loss, 0 sacks. 0. He wasn't playing much early in the year. When we got to the Bama, Auburn games, Kentucky, snap count started to trend up a little bit. Didn't play as much against Ole Miss. He's a guy that I still believe has pass rush ability. In terms of guys that play the jack linebacker spot for us, our edge rushers, I think he is the one that has the most ability and is closest ready to play. Quintavious Johnson's done a great job of setting the edge against the run. He's been awesome for us against the run. A big part of why we've been so good stopping the run this year consistently. Medozi hasn't been as proficient stopping the run. That's why he's having a hard time seeing the field. But on third downs, he was starting to see more and more reps. I think that needs to continue, guys. Quintavious is a good run defender. He has not given us much at all as a pass rusher. Did some good things against Auburn, but that was the exception to this point in the season. Now, he's young, and I hope he continues to grow, and he can get better. But we need Medozi to have a big second half of the year and become closer to that guy. Give us anything remotely resembling the guy that we thought we were going to get from Army as his big pickup as a pass rusher after Damon Wilson Jr. decided to leave and go to Missouri. Every time I watch Missouri play, it's like, oh my God, we could really use that guy. Seeing Darius Smith out there. We could really use that guy, but no, not how that works. So we need Medozi to step up in the big way. So he's got to be my needed the most defensive player in the second half of the season. And finally, guys, let's wrap things up with our offensive and defensive MVPs. To me, guys, it was a runaway on both sides of the football. Offensively, our MVP through the first half of the season, who could it possibly be other than quarterback Gunnar Stockton? Think back to the first 2 weeks of the year, particularly game 2 against Austin Peay, and all the question marks, the hatred being spewed out there towards Gunnar Stockton, the doubts. Everyone, outside the fan base, inside the fan base, and Gunnar just responded in about as positive a way as you possibly could. Block out the noise, stay focused on your job, go out, perform at a high level. And the very next week in Tennessee, in Knoxville, crazy environment. Second half, that guy delivers in a way that if you would ask someone the week before, did he have it in him? They would laughed you out of the room. But Gunnar delivered, and he hasn't looked back since that point, guys. 1,832 total yards, 70% completion percentage, 17 touchdowns, 1 pick, number 2 QBR in the country. Team is 6-1. The dude is getting the job done. Was it perfect early in the season? No. Is he perfect now? No. But one thing you can say about Gunnar Stockton, a couple things you can say about Gunnar Stockton. Number one, the guy improves game after game after game. Early in the season, there were some legitimate concerns. Leaving the pocket too early, being a little too tentative and pulling the trigger when guys are there down the field and plays are there to be had. Almost like he was overcoached to protect the football, right? But he's gotten better, guys. I'm not saying that he stays in the pocket as long as he needs to every snap, but he's staying in the pocket and allowing the routes to develop more consistently than he was early in the year. He's seeing the field better. He's being more willing to pull the trigger on those balls and not being, I don't want to say not as safe with the football, but he's finding the right balance between risk and reward. When he leaves the pocket, he's doing a better job now of actually not only keeping his eyes down the field, but throwing it to receivers when he escapes the pocket, not making his mind up that he's just going to run it as soon as he escapes the pocket. But Gunnar, guys, beyond that, the other thing we can say about him is that this dude is as clutch as they come. The guts on this guy, unbelievable. When every game we play, with the exception of Kentucky, in SEC play has been incredibly close, right? We're talking narrow margins. And this guy has come up big time and time again when this team has needed him the most. Second half against Tennessee, put the team on his back. Fourth down, 4th and 6. Don't convert this, game over. You lose the game. Now you're staring potentially 0-2 in the SEC with Bama up next. Delivers an absolute dime for a touchdown. We're not going for the first down. We're going for the whole thing. Delivers. Alabama didn't have his best game. We only threw the ball 20 times in that game because we were also running all over Bama in that game, 220 plus in that game. But Auburn, second half, on the road, chips are down. Puts the team on his back with no run game to speak of, with a mashing of an offensive line, and delivers, right? Ole Miss, best game of his career. Top 5 opponent, absolutely delivered time and time again when his team needed him the most. That is the definition of the most valuable player for a football team. So offensively, runaway, clearly Gunnar Stockton. Defensively, I also think runaway here, it's been linebacker C.J. Allen. Now, C.J. has played a lot of football for Georgia from day one a couple years ago. But he had a good freshman year. I don't think his freshman year was as strong as some were making it out to be. He played really well for a freshman, but there were clearly some holes in his game. He got really victimized. I disciplined a lot in that first year, but last year he took a big step, and this year, oh yeah, he has taken another huge step for Georgia to the point now I think he's put himself in line to be a first-round draft pick in the NFL draft. come what, April, May, April, whenever that happens. Not really an NFL guy, I'm a college guy. But CJ, guys, is playing at an extraordinarily high level for Georgia in the middle of that defense. He leads team right now in tackles for loss, 5.5 TFLs, and from the inside linebacker position, because we have nobody can rush the passer from the edge right now, leads the team in sacks as well with 3 sacks on the season. And beyond that, guys, he's out there. He's got the helmet, getting the calls. He's getting everybody lined up. He knows the defense. He is playing 100 miles an hour at all times. He is the definition of a leader out there in the middle of your defense and has clearly been the most valuable player for that Georgia defense. Again, leading the team in tackles, TFLs, and sacks. How could I possibly say or even suggest that anyone else is more valuable in that Georgia defense right now than C.J. Allen with the production this guy has put up? So he's been unbelievable for Georgia. And, man, if he keeps this up, I think he's going to put himself in the conversation for that Buckus Award. I don't know if he'll win it, all right, because that's a stat-driven award, and the sacks, like he's got 3 sacks, so he's not putting up Jalen Walker-level sacks, although Jalen ended up with 6.5 last year anyway. But CJ's playing at a high level, man, and he's been everything that we needed him to be, everything that I thought he would be coming this year. Clearly, the MVP of Georgia defense through the first half-ish of the 2025 season. But there you go, guys. Those are my mid-ish season awards for this 2025 Georgia football team. We'll come back and do this again, guys, at the end of the year when we have even more data points to discuss and throw in there. But I thought this would be a fun exercise to throw at you guys here today when we don't have an actual game to recap from this past week and come out of the bye. So hope you guys enjoyed it, but I will be back in a couple of days. I think, Tuesday, I'll be back with our deep dive game preview of the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. From now on, guys, the rest of this week, we're looking forward. We're looking forward to Florida. I'll have the deep dive game preview for you guys, as I do each and every week, which, in my humble opinion, is the most in-depth preview of every Georgia game you're going to find anywhere. At least that is my mission. And then at the end of the week, I'll also have my official prediction for the Georgia-Florida game. So make sure to come back later this week, guys. Again, if you're a diehard Georgia fan, like, subscribe, comment, all those things. Who are your MVPs through the first half of the season? Love to hear from you guys. Thank you again for being here. I greatly appreciate the support, guys. But I'm Tyler, and as always, go Dogs!
Man, is there going to be some property destroyed tonight. 26-21. Dogs on top.